All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Sim Series, the second one here at Willow Crest Golf Club. I'm about to rip driver here at the 10th. As a reminder, I am 2 over through 9, which for sim golf, under the circumstances, a limited bag at my disposal, not my clubs, this is pretty darn good. So here I sit at the tee box, 414 yards, dog leg left, but pretty straight away in terms of the logic of the hole. I'm able to put a really balanced swing on it, and I probably burned my best swing of the day at the very first swing of the day. I'm out there about 305. That's A1 steak sauce. You can't really drop it out there any better. Down the middle, ready with the short one in. 113 yards left. That's just a little flippy P wedge. I should be aiming just a little left of the pin for that little fade I have, but you'll see with my swing right now, I'm just getting a little loose and open with it. I'm turning my body before my arms, and you're seeing that combined with a little bit more of a flex on the shaft that I'm used to, flaring it out to the right, and that's no good with this flag. And just this narrow tongue to the front of the green, that's not where you want to be. So here I have this downhill little 12-yard chip again, and I'm really able to hit a good one, bending the knees, curling it around the hole, and that is one that I'm very happy with. So on to 11, 607-yard beast of a par 5, and shout out to Willow Crest. It's one of my favorite courses. I think I can play it for, at one point it was $36 during the week twilight rate, and I was able to get in, I think, usually 15 to 18 holes out there. It's a pretty good deal, one of the best you'll find, so highly recommend that course in real life. But here's one where you've got to hit a good drive out there just to get yourself in position, and that's what I do. Just a little baby fade down the right-hand side. Really nicely done. A little bit up the hill, too, so that's hit really well. And you'll see that leaves me still with 312 yards in. Giving me a little bit uphill, but I really just want to, you'll see my thought process here, keep it short of the bunker and the water. I don't even want to bring it into play. I definitely can't bring the bunker into play with the 5-wood. I might be able to bring the water into play. And so that's why I club down to what I usually do is take a 5-iron, hit it about 200, or at least try to, but I have to go to the 7-iron because that's all this offers. And I hit a little bit too much of a fade, but the fairway opens up a little bit that way. That's why you club down, ladies and gentlemen. So still in great position at this par 5 and 2. Everything going to plan according to plan through 10 holes, 10 and a half holes. Here I set up over this one with a pitching wedge. I take a really nice swing at it. However, because it's a simulator, it was looking for the ball and it never registered. So that would have been a really, really nice one. Unfortunately, I've got to hit it again, try to put a good swing on it, give me that little fade off the left, and that's exactly what I think is happening. I think it's perfect until I start to see that yardage rack up, and holy crap, I hit a pitching wedge 150 yards. But then I see it wasn't a pitching wedge at all. It was a 9-iron, and I had accidentally taken the wrong club like an utter dunce. And here I sit now 20 yards longer than I should have been. I might have been a little bit long with the P wedge, but not 20 yards long. Then I try to get really low with a suddenly scrambling for par situation, try to get really low with that pitching wedge, and it just does not get the distance I need. And now I'm suddenly left with an up and down, a challenging up and down for bogey. Just need to hit a little chip with the P wedge, a low one, to get, hopefully, for the love of God, inside gimme range. That's all I really want out of this shot. And here it is, getting low, trying to aim a little bit to the right, and you'll see that's what happens, and I just need it to sit just a little bit. Is it inside the friendship circle? It is, just barely. I get out of there with a bogey, and I'm able to take a deep breath, call myself an idiot, and move on to the par 4 13th. Where you've got 400 yards out in front of you. And actually, I think this is the 12th hole, but 400 straight away. This is about as simple a driving hole as it gets. And I'm able to take advantage of that despite it being slightly off the toe. I don't really have much of a draw anymore unless I really try to hit one, and you'll see how that works out for me later. But again, really nice. Got some roll, got a big bounce, so that added to the distance for some not so great contact. You see here I'm actually hitting the P-wedge this time from 115, so there's really no excuse on this shot, but you'll see that I'm trying to overcompensate a little bit for my constant right misses all day, and you'll see that the lower body just does not activate with the arms. The arms are way through the ball before the lower body gets there. So your swing has to be on plane and in sync, and that's what I'm looking for, but that shot is not. And you see I put myself in a horrible position where I have to really hit a putt because I don't want to contend with having to hit a bump and run with a pitching wedge that uses a vague amount of grab and slope with the fringe there and the hill going way left to right. So I've just got to try to hammer one up the hill, and I didn't make good contact with the putt, and I couldn't do it. So, not the world's worst, most disastrous putt, but I left myself with still 15 feet here for my par, and step up to it, see it's another left to righter. I'm able to get some good wood on it a little bit, but this one, as you'll see, just doesn't really have enough juice, and it comes up just short. That would have been a great par save. Unfortunately, it's another bogey, 2 bogeys in a row, and we come to the par 3, needing a 180-yard shot with the 7-iron, which is a lot to ask with the 7-iron, and it would take a totally flushed and dead straight 7-iron to do it, but it's either this or try to hit a little baby 5-wood that cuts and also stops on the green. So I really try to give it the full go here, and you'll see it's still got the cut that I'm going to be working on, but luckily there's some runoff area over there. Just end up in the right rough, have some room to work with. This should be, I don't want to say a piece of cake, because with the pitching wedge nothing is, but it's not the world's most difficult shot. I just have to land it really just short on the fairway or even the fringe here is what I'm thinking. Just got to make good contact with it, but I flew it just too far just a little too far to be in the circle of friendship. So I have to hit an 11-footer back down the hill, back left to right, which is not good for a right-handed hitter visually. So this one's going to be a tough putt. Another scrambling par save attempt. And these are the ones you got to make if you want to stay in the tournament. And I just blow it by. It comes close, but it breaks too late to the left. Comes in after the hole. Another bogey off to the par 5. 529 yards. This hole is a tough visual because there's junk off to the right. Oftentimes in real life, the wind's in your face here. But before I can even get going, the machine hits me with a mulligan, because apparently sometimes with these simulators, they don't all work great. So now you'll see that my ability to determine what the mulligan function is about as fully developed as my editing skills. You see that giant M on the ribbon? That's what I need to press, but it's going to take me a couple more seconds to find it. And I click it, I understand, there we have it. So now I'm able to get going for my drive. This is a go for it potential hole if you can rip stick, and luckily I'm able to do so. That might not have been my best contact of the day, but it was right up there, because that puts me in position to go for this in 2. And this is not an easy hole to do that, typically, because you'll see how this lima bean-shaped green is so narrow if you want to hit a cut in there, but it's like a runway if you can. So in my practice swing for hitting the big cut, it registers it as a stroke again. So off I go, back to the keyboard, off camera, and now that I know it's just the big M, I'm able to change it. So now I line up 232, 5-wood going for the big cut, really sweepy cut, and I thought I hit a great one there with the helicopter finish. But again, didn't register. This has been a lot, this hole especially. I was getting pretty frustrated, so I have to compose myself and hit this shot, just looking for that big Tiger Woods 2010 Pebble Beach on Saturday U.S. Open cut. And I'm able to get a cut, but you'll see that's kind of just a baby fade, and would have been great had I been able to pull it off, but I couldn't tell if that was actually water a little bit past the green. I don't think it was, but because it's not there in real life. But I dumped myself in the bunker. I'm okay with this result. It's still a pretty good shot. I didn't want to overcut it and just be way out to the right because there's some junk over that way in between the two holes. So I'm able to hit this one just too much. I off the club, I actually thought this one might be pretty good, but just a little discombobulated distance-wise with that P wedge. So now here I am with a birdie putt, standing over at about 25 feet. Left to right yet again, but this one seems pretty flat in terms of elevation, so I know if I can get the right read on this, it's going to end up being pretty close. And I hit a really good putt. I start to raise the putter, and I thought I had it. But it's a par, and we move to the par 3. And this is a par 3 that's pretty much as it looks. It's a little bit more downhill in real life than this, but yeah, so it's 136 for me is between a 9-iron and a P wedge, so I tend to go with more club rather than less in these situations, but it's a little bit harder for me to control the distance here, and I honestly, in the moment, forgot that it was a little bit downhill. That's the thought process that I need to work with, but still end up hitting a pretty decent shot. There was good contact, but you'll see it went 145, and that's, more of my typical stock 9, so I didn't take enough off of it. I got a little bit too much, and for about the 679th time today, I have a downhill left to right putt from 28 feet, and I hammer this bad boy, and it just does not stop breaking, or just does not start breaking, and I hammered it, and it didn't get there. So I'll take the gimme. That's a good par. We move on to the, I believe, 16th hole. This dogleg left, got to work it off the water, and this psychs me out because I've been hitting straight balls all day, but I'm worried about that tree there, and I really exaggerate how much I have to go left, and watch this shot. It's off. I almost missed the ball with how much off the toe it was. It is not good because you'll see how much off the toe it was with the distance. It went 259 right there. I point at the toe. But all things considered, I'm in a great spot. I got through the trees, got a really nice bounce, got 90 yards left, open lane to the flag. I've been further left on that hole going for it, so I am more than happy to have this left. But not my best driver swing. Now I've got to focus on controlling the pitching wedge. Good contact, a little bit too much open, but that's a shot that I'm happy with. That's one that I'm very okay with, especially in the sim. Sometimes you can't get greedy. In order to become scratch, I've probably got to get that closer instead of 26 feet. But a green and reg is something you can't take for granted. And this putt, I almost make, just burns the edge. But a good stress-free 2-putt par. I felt like I was starting to level out here and was at 5 over through 16 holes with the sim. This is a pretty good round I've got going. Stepping up to the challenging par 4 17th. I think it's the 6th or 8th handicap, but that doesn't really do it justice. It's longer than it seems. It goes left to right. It's a little bit more downhill off the tee in real life, and the water isn't as daunting. But I hit this one dead off the heel, and you will see how much distance it takes off. 260 again, 259, just like the last hole. That really came out poorly, and I set myself up behind this tree. And what you'd like to do in this situation is be able to hit it underneath the tree. And I'm trying to kind of go, under and then up. I'm trying to go just start it out to the right of the tree, hit a big kind of draw around, but I didn't realize that I didn't need as much draw as I was planning. And you see how whippy I'm making this. And then watch this swing. Oh, that is a horrible shot. I can't help but laugh at how terrible that was. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was trying to do. I didn't take my medicine. Granted, it's a little hard to punch out sideways when you're at a sim. So I'm still left, it's almost as if I punched out. I'm 134 out. I'm just taking a full pitching wedge from the rough here. It's up the hill, so I've got to give it a full go with the pitching wedge and just absolutely strike it. You'll see how high in the air that gets. But then I see it starts to really go. So pitching wedge went 142. I know it was a pitching wedge this time. I'm like in disbelief because for the 972nd time, I've got a downhill left to right putt. And now my thought process is just make it. Just hammer it and make it. And what do? I absolutely blast it. Look how much that takes off past the hole. I'm frustrated at myself. I didn't realize how fast that would be. But now I'm glad I just have an uphill putt for bogey. I would love to make bogey here. That would be a good score at this hole, given that drive and that second shot. All I've got to do is aim a little bit high, and I just didn't get it high enough. Started it at the hole. That's a putt that I'm upset with myself about. You got to leave that above the hole if you're going to miss. So not the best, and that's a double. That's not what you want. So here I come to the the 18th, ninth hole of the day. Line up 7 over. This course is a par 70. So I would need +9 at worst to be breaking 80, which was my original goal before it started. I just take a big 7, and it goes 190, and I can't believe it. 190 is usually reserved for a flushed 6-iron. So I cannot believe how far that went. And now I've got another delicate shot with the pitching wedge from a downhill lie in a bunker. Luckily, it doesn't really consider that in this game. So I just need to get it with enough room to spare on the green. This is another just tight little shot. I just got to get it just over the bunker, 18 yards, get real low, get real tight with it. Trust the hands. That's just too much. I know immediately, and I just hammered it. So I am worried that's going to roll into the water. Luckily, it hangs barely up. I've got to make this for par. My mind starts to wander, thinking double bogey again, but then I realize I've got to lock in and just hit one that lands in the fringe low with the pitching wedge and let it roll up. Hopefully give myself a gimme. You're less than 24 feet away. I barely hit it. And it needs to go. And it's 6 feet 8 inches. So close. Now I have to putt to save myself from double. This is one where I have to make in order to get a 78. So to shoot a 78, this has to go in. Another little left to righter, just a hair. I give it just enough, and it goes in the right side. That was a putt that I needed to see go in. And you'll see that back 9 has 2 6s on it. You don't want to see 6s too much. Front 9 was a beautiful 37, a well-shot 37.